Hi guys. If I look like I'm seriously stressed out and going to fall over and, like, I don't know, wet myself, it's because I am. I had a conversation with my older boy, and he went and said, no, what you can do is actually, stand up here and just tell him that you're talking about, like, advanced flower arrangement, and then the people that leave, well, you don't have to worry about them, and the people that stay, you can talk about any shit you want. Because then, So anyway, I'm going to talk about advanced flower arrangement. No. Maybe I should. Okay, extreme leadership, yeah. Wow, this came to me in a dream. Maybe let me start just a little bit about myself. So I've been around software development for about 25 years and around transformative organizations for about 10 years. As you can see, I've got like a hell of a lot of like really important certifications. I'm really proud of the laugh my ass off one. I'm an agile coach, a writer, photographer, crash test dummy. I like the crash test dummy thing because that's all about experimentation, and sometimes you just have to try things. And I think it's like really a cool thing that like threads through this whole extreme leadership thing. Extreme leadership, what's that all about? What? Thought that might be a bit provocative. I thought about doing it by myself, but like, it just doesn't have the same impact. But I do have a cute butt, I think. Anyway. So let's start with a really cool quote. You want to take the system, you want to turn it upside down. This is revolution. And what you're going to see, like through this talk, there's quite a bit of that theme about turning things upside down. I think it's actually quite integral when it comes to leadership. Looking at what's there, looking at how you can turn things upside down, freak people out a little bit, because if you don't stress people out, nothing's going to change. You just get into that space of comfort, and that's not where we want to be, if we're thinking about that revolution and that space of transition, of transformation. So what I thought was, before I jump into some of the leadership things that I've discovered over my many, many, many years around software development and agile transformation, dating myself horribly. Anyway, I thought I'd just chat about a few concepts that I've discovered over the last couple of months around agility. And the one thing that really struck me was I've been working at Capitec for about 18 months now, doing some really amazing stuff. And the thing that like really hit me was like agility really forms like a web. Like, you start thinking in terms of networks and interconnected networks. This is actually, it lends itself to a very, very flat, dynamic, fluid structure, which I think is a hell of a lot more agile than anything in a like pyramidal shape, if we put it that way. So, when you think about that network thing, what that's looking at there, consensus, collaboration, vision. It's really powerful. That's really, really powerful stuff. And a hell of a lot more exciting than dictatorial governance and control. Or what I should say is more like the illusion of control, because we actually don't really have control at all. And I think once we actually realize that, and once we're liberated from that idea that we've actually got control in the first place, I think things get really, really interesting. Another way to look at these things, that flat structure over there I see as a stable structure. This is managed. And so a couple of things that I'd like to unpack about those two concepts as well. So managed versus stable. Take a look at that. The first one over there, structured. Structured, standard operating procedures, expected. The questions that you tend to get in an environment like this is, how can I replicate this model? How can I replicate this model? Who do I report to? Who reports to me? These are not very exciting questions at all. They just absolutely don't inspire anything as far as I'm concerned. Like, who do I report to? I actually don't care. Much more powerful thing for me is who can I learn from? And that's got absolutely nothing to do with who I report to. Who reports to me? No, I've got no interest in that either. Who reports to me? I mean, people reporting to me doesn't make me a leader at all. Like, can I impart knowledge? Can I help people? That's a lot more important. The stable environment, dynamic with aspect of fluidity. Human systems are fluid. They've got nothing to do with ladders. They've got nothing to do with hierarchy. These things don't work. We don't actually work like that. We don't work like that at all. We don't learn like that. Information flows very slowly up and down, structures like this. Another beautiful thing about this is like, you take a look at these two structures, and someone asked me, well, where would you put the client? Where would you put the client? A place like this, sometimes your client's over here. It's outside of the structure. Right? Someone that we're delivering to, someone over there, this like mystical, I don't know, unicorn being that like, magically uses our products. I mean, wow. What happens, I'm just thinking in the context of a bank, what happens if your best clients are your actual employees? Yeah, how revolutionary would that be? Create a structure like this, flat, interlaced, beautiful network. Your client is one of these dots, connected up to everyone. Just think about this in terms of feedback loops as well. How many feedback loops are in here if you're one of these tiny little red blocks? Little red block over there, your feedback loop is probably that very, very dismal, lonely little line. Over here, you've got a whole myriad of options as far as of connections and like the way you can create new connections. So basically, you just create a structure that even though that it moves and even though that it's fluid, is stable because it's flat. Oddly enough, I thought about a quote that I read about Dean Martin. And, if you get really, really drunk, the most stable place you can be is like on the floor. And he went and said, yeah, you're not really drunk if you can lie on the floor without holding on. Obviously, that's not part of transformation, but there is a level of, tequila, yeah. So, I think sometimes tequila does play its role. Okay. Another problem with hierarchies, so deep hierarchies, they create silos, they create ladders. This is like, for me, it's like deeply problematic as well. I was lucky enough to spend 3.5 years in the States, and I was also very lucky enough to work in a company that was exceptionally flat. So basically, we had like one title for everyone. We were all technical consultants. There were no managers. There were nothing else. It was like technical consultant. I liked that. It was really cool. And after 3 years, my older boy was born over there, so he's a Texan first, then an American. We came back because my parents lost their minds. Like, they were like, okay, bring the kid back or you're dead. My mom, she's like about yo big, Portuguese lady. You don't mess with Portuguese moms. When she said, I'll kill you, that wasn't like a figure of speech. It was like, I'm going to fly over there and I'm going to shoot your ass. Which would have, anyway. So anyway, I came back and obviously I needed a job. So I walk into my first interview and oddly enough, this person goes and asks me well, what title do you want? And I'm like, well, for the last 3 years, wow. So I went, Master of the Known Universe? And that was the end of the interview. And I was like, what the fuck? Anyway, hierarchies. Silos and ladders. Nothing flows through a silo. Absolutely nothing flows through a silo. You stack silos up against each other. You don't get an organizational structure that's conducive to flow at all. Something comes in and it splinters across these silos, like pinballing all over the show, creating dependencies with everyone. And then somehow, magically, with probably more unicorns, it kind of gets reconstituted into something that may just be value, but no one actually knows what the hell it is and who it's been delivered to. And that's really not what we want at all. And with a hierarchy, we tend to want to build those silos. I'm up here, all these people belong to me. Unfortunately, that's where the next little bit of dysfunction comes in. We're not people anymore, we've become resources. Or I sat in one meeting where someone actually talked about his inventory. And I was like, my God, call me inventory, I'm going to beat you to death with some inventory. You think about just like the bad behaviors. And the other thing is nothing flows up or down quickly. I'm in a team, I have a manager, and my manager's got a manager, and my manager's manager's got a manager, and somehow it gets to the stratospheric heights where there's the execs. How does information flow up and down? And you get like these things where, well, the CEO said, and it pinballs all the way down, and people just take that for gospel. So nothing moves up or down quickly in a structure like that, and that's not where we want to be. Not if we're looking for a lean, agile organization where we want to swap ideas and experiment and play and find a way, because there is no blueprint. One of the other big problems with things like this is in an agile transformation, we think we can actually maintain that structure and then take all these beautiful agile principles and practices and just paint them over our structure and expect to get the same results. It absolutely doesn't work that way. I mean, you think about flow, creating flow through team or a team of teams. It doesn't work over here at all, and we can't just go paint by numbers or paint these beautiful concepts over that structure. We actually need to do something fundamentally different. So anyway, I was walking to get coffee, as we do, agile coaches, we organisms that convert coffee into weirdness. And I'm walking down there, and there was this group of architects, and they were having a good chat. And this one guy was like, the problem about becoming an architect is like, oh, well, I've hit the ceiling. There's nowhere to go. And I was like, wow. So you hit the ceiling, and there's nowhere to go. Well, that's pretty damn sad. Huge problems there. As an architect, what you've done is you've actually just placed yourself in the most sparsely populated part of that entire structure. You are a network of one. So unless you've got multiple personalities, it's going to be quite lonely. I mean, really? Seriously? This is where you need to play. The most densely populated network, where there's lots of people can absolutely use everything that you bring to the table. And then the beauty of that comes along is you can actually learn from them as well. And like people don't see that. They go, well, I've got to climb this stupid ladder and I've got to get to the top, and that suddenly makes me awesome. But you've just isolated yourself from everyone that you could learn from. And like, wow. I mean, that's what agility is all about. Is like finding people that you can learn from. And there's every single, one of the things that I learned, really, really early in my career, which I'm infinitely grateful for. So, I mean, I started off as an assembler programmer, and I mean, wow, I was like the best assembler programmer on the face of the planet. And why are you guys laughing? I was. It was incredible. I was awesome. And I got an opportunity to work in Hello? Is anyone there? Days I need the tequila. Freaking out. Oh, awesome. I love my team. So I got the opportunity to work in England, and the warning bells were there, and I just didn't pay attention. They gave me the job over a single phone call, threw a shit ton of money at me, but I just assumed because I was the best programmer on the face of the planet. So anyway, I rocked up there and realized that at the very best, I was the second best programmer on the face of the planet, because the guy that I was replacing, fuck it, he was the best. Because I had no clue what he was doing. Anyway, he decided he was going to become a Buddhist monk. And I mean, literally, he got up from his desk and he went, screw this, I'm going off to Tibet. And he was gone. I was like, wow. Okay. So I learned humility very, very quickly. And I learned that I can learn from everyone very, very quickly, because at that point I was just like, please, God, help me. I mean, I don't know who you are. Well, I actually make tea. I don't care. Just please help me. Do you want a cup of tea? Okay, thank you. Now, this poor guy that's climbing up this ladder, let's think about that. What a better place to be, surrounded by people, interacting with people, creating an environment where you can actively collaborate with a whole bunch of people and learn and learn and learn. Much, much better place to be. So let's come back to that revolution thing. So revolution from I think it's Greek, revolutio, to turn around. So you'll see this is an ongoing theme about turning things around, turning things upside down. Like I say, freak people out, it's good. We kind of need that. I got my freak out like when I moved to England, and I went down to the pub, pinted away for a while. I mean, okay, shit, now I need to sort my shit out here. So we've got these deep structures. So how about those? Let's just turn that thing upside down. So as a leader, you're not at the top of that structure. You're never at the top of that structure. You have no place being at the top of that structure. You're not at the top. You're the support. If you think about that, if I'm the base of this structure, my job is just to support those three people above me. I need to make an environment where their excellence is inevitable. You think about that. I create an environment where their excellence is absolutely inevitable. The lesson that I learned, as far as this is concerned, I got the opportunity to become a development manager, and I decided that I was going to be a dev manager without touching anything technical ever again. So I already learned my lesson about not being the best programmer on the face of the planet. So I thought, I'm just going to run with it, and I'm going to do the people thing. So I went for an interview to be a dev manager, and I said, look, I want to be a dev manager, but I don't want to touch code. I don't want to teach anything to anyone about code, tech, nothing. The people you got here are bright enough anyway. I want to take this on from a people point of view, and I want to support them. I want to create an environment where they can just shoot out the lights, where they can be amazing. And that's where I put myself, as a dev manager, with those teams above me. The beautiful thing of the structure is these structures, if you treat those people like that, they treat the people above them like that, and so on and so forth. And then the next lesson is, why am I over here when I can work with them, and I could be next to them and sit in the same group, and you see the structure starts to flatten out naturally and organically. People start to work together, and like that mindset starts to basically disseminate right through that structure. Much more powerful. The next thing I want to turn upside down. So you guys have heard about T people. You know, we get this like a lot, T people. You know, broad skills, deep, specialist knowledge thing. I think that thing is the wrong way around. I think what we need to do is turn that upside down as well. So we need to help people build that solid foundation, so that broad base of process and role knowledge. We don't want to put people in boxes. You know, I think we bring an incredible amount of skills to the table, and I think we label ourselves very quickly. So how about creating a really beautiful foundation to build off? So my primary skill might be I might be a developer, but if I've got that incredibly strong basis and strong foundation to build from, this becomes easy. I build up. You build up, but everyone's got the same base to build from. That's really powerful. Next thing I thought about was, well, let's take this whole team thing, and maybe let's start to look at that a little bit differently as well. So we talked about autonomous teams and like self-managed teams. So I was sitting in the burnout session, and the one thing that struck me was, we get people that burn out during transformations. And I go, well, you expect me to be self-managing and self-organizing, but then you put me inside or at the bottom of a deep structure. So how am I supposed to self-manage and self-organize when I've got a manager and my manager's got a manager and so on and so forth? You're expecting something from me that's impossible. So it's one of the things we need to break. We need to change up. We need to switch around. We need to change. So how about creating these small, autonomous, atomic, long-standing mini-mobs and allow them to flow through a network? So you create mobs of mobs and networks. Kind of works for me. I haven't tried it yet, but I mean, yet again, that's an experiment. So I'm throwing it out there. Use it, don't use it. I think it's a cool idea. I'm hoping to actually try one of these experiments soon, and maybe next year I'll come back and we'll talk about mini-mobs and either how it was really damn awesome or how I screwed it up. Either way, it's lessons. It's lessons. Okay. Next little piece. I found this. It was really cool. In music, there's no such thing as a wrong note. It's always the note that follows that defines whether the first one was wrong or not. Yet again, it's another lesson. So when I moved on from being a dev manager, moved into the consulting space, and I learned really, really, really quickly that as a consultant, I actually need to have an opinion. And I need to voice that opinion, and that opinion can absolutely be wrong, and I need to own it, but I need to have an opinion. I need to have an answer. And as a leader, we don't have to know all the answers, but we need to actually be in a space where we have an answer. And sometimes probably the most liberating, the most awesome answer you can have is, I don't know. I don't know, but together we might know. There's a beautiful saying in Japan, no one of us is as smart as all of us. When you put yourself in that space, as a leader, and you liberate yourself, and you're comfortable with going, I don't know, you're in a great space. You put your team in a great space as well, because you elevate them. Because you know what? They might know. And in many cases, they do know. And that's a lesson I learned as that dev manager. I mean, wow. I had like 4 dev teams. These guys, I think the lowest qualification that these guys had was like a master's in maths. I mean, these guys were like ridiculously intelligent. Ridiculously intelligent. How the hell am I supposed to manage them? All I can do is really just create an environment where these guys can be absolutely awesome. I mean, they used to talk about shit in the coffee room where I just get a nosebleed just listening to them. I'm like, I think I've just ruptured something in my head. I'm going to step out. It's okay, Steve. It's all good. It's called math. Oh. Jocko Willink. Yeah, he's quite an intimidating guy. Used to be a Navy SEAL commander. And I saw this. Leaders must own everything in their world. There is no one else to blame. I think that's absolutely beautiful. Well, I think when we get into a space where as a leader, and believe me, all of you are leaders, all of you. It's not everyone will be in that position where you lead. And if you lead, you own everything. There is no such thing as other people. I was in a meeting a little while ago where guys were complaining about an environment that was not there, like QA environment that was missing. It was like those people, they screwed up the environment again. And I'm like, no, there's no such thing as those people. It's our environment. It's our problem. We need to fix that. And if you're not communicating and talking with those people and connecting with them and fixing our problem, well, then we've got a bigger problem. We own it. It's ours. When you think about an organization, I look at Capitec, and I can tell you this much, we've done some amazing stuff, but we've still got a long way to go. Got a long way to go. And the language I want to start hearing in Capitec is our Capitec. Our Capitec. And I don't care who the hell you are. It can be the person that picks up the coffee mugs off the desk, to Gerry, who, I'm going to get it, hashtag Gerry said, because that's also something we need to work on. But our Capitec, from the top all the way down, and then maybe turn it around from the bottom all the way up, flatten it out. Our Capitec, that's a powerful place to be. Because if it's our Capitec, there is no one else to blame. We own it. We own everything there. Everything. There is no such thing as other people. But thinking about that, we've got some real serious challenges in that ownership space, particularly when it comes to a transformative environment. And I was thinking about how can I position this? And if we think about where we want to go as far as a transformative, agile, lean environment is concerned, I see two aspects of it that have got enormous value, and that's fluency and fluidity. So what do I mean by that? So fluency, creation of flow, that seamless, uninterrupted delivery of value. Getting into that space, we have to critically look at the structures that we've got. Have we built up silos? Have we built up any artificial structure where concepts splinter out into things and then somehow need to get reconstituted? That's not creating flow at all. That's like creating this pinball weird thing that people freak out about, and you start pointing fingers. Yeah, well, I had a dependency on you, and you didn't deliver. And that's the wrong language. That's not flow. That's not fluency. But fluidity as well. We want to create structures that can actually morph, that can change. It can change because, we're in an environment that does change, and that's the one certainty that we've got. That we need to look at things that will adapt. That absolutely need to adapt. Otherwise, we're stuffed. Someone else will go and find a way to do that. So the ability to adapt and transform into something new, we need to be comfortable with that as well. Comfortable with being uncomfortable. Comfortable with experimenting. Comfortable with screwing things up. The other thing given that fluency and that fluidity and the volatility in trying to put those structures together, and people will really, they'll fight against it. Leaders need to be humble, but not passive. Yet again, you don't have all the answers. In many cases, there's going to be, you're either going to screw it up because you've got the wrong answer, but that's okay because that's a learning, or you're just going to go, I don't know, we have to try something, but not passive. Okay. Leaders must lead, but they must also be able to follow. One of the really powerful lessons I learned from reading Jocko Willink's book, if you take a look at a SEAL team, when a SEAL team goes into combat, the leader of that SEAL team is in the middle of the unit. He or she can't put him or herself in the front, because then all you're occupied with is tactical decisions. The people that first walk into that firefight are in the front. You can't put yourself at the back of the unit, because then all you're consumed with is strategic. You actually need to let those things go, and who can lead will lead. And I think we get ourselves into that space where we are okay with letting go of that leadership mantle and giving it to someone else. Then you're in a good space. You're empowering someone else. You're building other leaders, and you're probably learning. Talking about letting go, one of the things that I discovered is you can learn things about this whole agile mindset and this leadership thing from so many different spaces. And I was reading the Tibetan book of Living and Dying, and they were talking about the concept of letting go of things that shouldn't be that important. And what the writer of the book was talking about is the concept of how to let go. So just say this thing is like the most important thing in my life. So in some cases, we talk about those hierarchies. I'm a manager. It's taken me years to get to that point. And now you're asking me to let it go? Are you mad? I've invested all of these years to get to this space. And you're asking me to let my title and my authority, let it go. And the more they fight against it, all they can see is, if I let it go, it's gone. I drop it. When in actual fact, all they need to do is let it go. Same concept, just slightly different. That's support. Still a leader. One of the things that talking about turning things upside down, thinking about things at the bottom of those things, the supports. One thing here that I actually wanted to add to the slide, didn't, and I thought I'd just talk through it. Diversity. Creating a space where different voices are heard. If everyone's thinking the same way, no one's thinking. So we need to create environments where we've got diverse teams, where people will challenge you, and they should challenge you. Otherwise, you're not going to learn. This is from Speed of Trust by Stephen Covey. So basically, in a nutshell, he was saying that the one thing that we do need to establish as far as any transformative journey is trust. We need to build that. Now, from trust, everything emanates. But yet again, what I'd want to do is turn that upside down, look at that slightly differently. Trust is the foundation. You build everything from that. Everything. The faster you can establish trust, the better space you're going to be. Now, a lesson that I learned here around trust. So I've got 3 children, and they are scarily open with me. Scarily open. And the things that they discuss with me freak me out totally, and get to the point where it's like, this is too much information. I actually did that to my older boy. I said, it's too much information. And he goes, Dad, why when you freaked out, you sound like an old rabbi? And I went, shut up, fuck off, you little schmuck. But yeah, I think about that, and the trust that I've earned there, I've got to understand that in earning that trust, there's going to be information coming my way that's going to be uncomfortable. Yeah, we need to actually just deal with that, because if you think about I just think about my context. I value that trust more than my own discomfort. So if I end up talking like an old rabbi to my children because I freak out and want to run away, I'm not going to run away. I'm going to deal with it because I value that trust so much. And that was earned. It's not something that just falls out of the sky. It's earned. It's by being there, being willing to learn, being willing to listen, being willing to be uncomfortable. The difficult takes time. The impossible takes a little longer. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. I found this totally by accident. I don't know what I was looking for. I think I'm on a bit of a mountain climbing thing at the moment, and I think Fridtjof Nansen is he's an explorer, and I think maybe that's how I kind of went down that rabbit hole. But I found this quote, absolute pearl. I was thinking about some things that are really, really difficult. Really difficult. In some cases, you feel like they're impossible. And I found this story. So, man was walking through India, and shit, how much time have I got left? Okay, thank God. I was looking at it, I was like, oh God, I'm supposed to be finished. Let me just wrap this up quickly. Elephant, really cool, very, very, very colorful. Absolutely no idea what I was talking about, but leadership, elephant, big. It's not what I was saying. So this dude is walking through India, and he walked into a village, and there was this Indian elephant, big bull elephant. We're talking about 4 tons of elephant there, and it's standing, and it's got this little rope around its leg with a wooden stake in the ground. The elephant's not going anywhere. So he goes to the elephant handler, and he says, well, this is insane. This is a 4-ton elephant. You've got like a piece of rope around its leg, and it doesn't go anywhere. And he goes, yeah, well, that's because The first time we tied that piece of rope around its leg, it was a little calf, and it couldn't pull the stake out of the ground. And now it doesn't believe it can. So you get this massive elephant. And your reality is a reflection of your strongest belief. And if you do not believe you can pull that stake out of the ground, you never will. So sometimes we just need to challenge the absolute crap out of it. Yeah? And it's going to be scary. We just need to try. Maybe a way to do that, and this is another story that I stumbled across, which is absolutely amazing. This is the Issujingu shrine in Japan. I was privileged enough to visit Japan a couple of years ago, and it's absolutely an amazing culture. And when I read this story, it just kind of fitted in with everything that I just soaked in there. So the Issujingu shrine, 1,300 years old, and every 20 years, the people tear it down and rebuild it. How about that? They take this beautiful shrine, and every 20 years they tear it down to the foundations and rebuild it. And they do that to invigorate and preserve the community and the spirituality around that shrine. Maybe that's something we need to start thinking about doing within our organizations. Don't be afraid to tear down those learned behaviors, to pull that wooden stake out of the ground, to test that little string around your leg. Maybe you are a 4-ton elephant. Okay. Yeah, this t-shirt is a bit tight. Yeah. Try to pull the damn stake out of the ground. Be brave. Don't be afraid of that. Break down those learned behaviors. Because I can tell you this much. Those learned behaviors won't go away by accident. We need to challenge them. We need to be brave. Don't be scared of them. Rebuild, renew, and create new neural paths. It's the only way we can do that. Okay, I love this quote. Lighthouses don't go running about for ships to save. They just stand there shining. Which leads me to my last story. So, yet again, it comes from, it's a Buddhist story, and I thought it was absolutely amazing and really struck home. So there's a stonecutter, and he's walking into a town. It's a really hot day, and he's just not feeling like he's worth anything. Miserable about his life, miserable about who he is. He feels he has no value. And as he walks into the town, he walks past this big gate, and he looks in the gate, and there's these beautiful gardens and a massive house, and he can see into the house, and there's this rich man lying on these pillows, and he's got servants all around him. And he says, oh man, if only I was that rich man, my life would be so much better. And in the snap of a finger, he's suddenly the rich man. And he's lying on these pillows, and he's like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, this is incredible. And they're serving him, and he looks out through the gates, and there are people looking in at him, and they're envious, and they hate him for what he's got. And he's like, oh, man, that doesn't feel good. It really doesn't feel good. And while he's there, this really important politician comes past in a horse and carriage, and people are moving out the way, and he goes, oh, if only I was that person, if only I was like that powerful politician, people would respect me. And suddenly he's that powerful politician, and he's in his carriage, and people are parting, but they're looking at him going, wait a minute, aren't you supposed to serve us? Who the hell do you think you are, you arrogant asshole? And he's like, man, this is horrible. This is a horrible feeling. And he's looking around, and he feels the sun on his face, and he goes, ooh, wait a minute. If I was the sun, everyone would love me because it's warm, and people love the sun. And he becomes the sun. And he's looking down on the earth, and he notices farmers, and farmers are looking up, cursing him because there's suddenly a drought and their crops have died, and he feels bad. And suddenly clouds like they roll in and like they hide the earth, and he goes, wait, but if I were clouds, then I could rain and the farmers would love me. And he becomes clouds, and he starts raining, and he creates floods, and he washes away a village, and the people curse him. And he's like, oh, this is terrible, I hate this. And then a powerful wind comes and it blows him away, or blows the clouds away, and he goes, but if I was the wind, that would be amazing, because then I would take these horrible clouds away. And he becomes the wind, and he's blowing across the land, and he's just, this is wonderful, this is amazing. And suddenly he comes across this massive thing that just like stops him, and he's like, wow, what is this? This is awesome. And it's a mountain. And he goes, wow. Now if I was a mountain, that would be amazing. And he becomes a mountain, and he's like looking across the entire earth, this massive, majestic mountain. And while he's standing there, reveling in this, he hears this little ting, 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 and he looks down, and there's a stonecutter. lesson. Yeah. How about that? Authenticity. Be you. No one can do you better than you. You're an amazing collection of quirks and bullshit and experience and observation and just crazy stuff that has just happened to you over your entire life. And I think probably one of the most important things, pain, disappointment, and love. People tend to go and they discount that. Well, I'm at work. Don't talk to me about these feeling things. Really? Seriously? So what, you just switch yourself off when you come to work? Bullshit. Bring everything that's you to work and own it. Because like I say, no one can do you better than you can. And people will love that. Be authentic. So, I'm running out of time, and I'm going to wrap up. And how about this? So, don't be afraid to dismantle and rebuild. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Don't be afraid to trust and let go. Don't be afraid to follow. Don't be afraid to entertain different points of view. That's powerful. There's different voices. People look at things differently. You can learn so much. Don't be afraid to be authentically you. I'll leave you with this one. Life's too short for all the mistakes I need to make. I think if you go through a transformation as far as an organization is concerned and a transformation as far as you're concerned, just owning that life's too short for all the mistakes you need to make, I think you're going to come out the other side an awesome person, an awesome leader. Okay, and I think we're all on that journey, and I think it's exciting. So I'm going to say thank you very much for entertaining my weirdness. It was an absolute pleasure. I hope I didn't look too freaked out, and I'm going to get that tequila right now. Thank you.